Anyway.
totally chill. Yeah. I just had to grab some water and stuff, otherwise I'd have been on time. But
Fair play. I should have done that as well, but never mind. Let's
uh,
see how we get on. Cool. So hopefully you can see my screen, guys, with a cheesy picture of myself. Yep.
absolutely.
Good. Awesome. So this session is all around 10 ops problems that kill business growth and how we're going to fix them. So we're going to go through 10 of these, just mistakes or examples of things that we've seen that people do, or where we've kind of in our operations backgrounds, in my operations and project management background before, where we've seen problems that exist. And you'll probably relate to some of these, or you probably will go, oh yeah, I've seen that in other businesses that you may have worked in before starting your own as well. And then we'll go through some fixes on that, which is probably the most important thing. So give you some solutions and also some really quick wins that you can just start to implement super quickly. So, firstly, we always like to talk about why ops is important for scaling growth, because what we kind of what one of our slogans is, which always makes me and my wife cringe a little bit, is that we try and make ops sexy. Because it's really not, right? So no one thinks like, oh, ops, I'm gonna go and do that today because that's the
Much
most
fun.
important thing in my diary, or that's the sexiest thing that's gonna make me loads of revenue. It's just not what we think. We want to go do sales, do some marketing, get out there, and do funky webinars like this. But ops is really the foundation of your business. Systemizing your business and putting processes in is the foundation of how you're going to build everything else from it. So if you think about building a house, you always start with the foundations and then you build your way up. So that's the same with the business, making sure that it's set on really good foundations before you start to scale and grow is going to set you in the right direction. But even if you realize a little bit down the road that you need to systemize, that's a great place to be as well, because you're already earning revenue, you know how the model works. Let's systemize and then let's use that as a springboard to go and make some more money. So that's why we always think ops is really important. Obviously, we will because it's our business. But I just think it's one of them things that often gets forgotten. And one of the key phrases as well is you don't know what you don't know. So ops is that kind of thing. If you're running a business and there's people who can teach you how to do that, but if you haven't gone to that point yet, you don't know what you don't know. So you don't know that you need some of these things or some of these tools exist. So that's why we're here, and hopefully you'll gain some value from that during this. So let's go and save the world with ops. That's me posing, probably. Awesome. So the first one that we talk about is lack of documented processes, so standard operating procedures, SOPs. And the mistake is relying on team members or yourself or your own memory, or verbal instructions, and that leads to inconsistency results, errors, and slow onboarding for people. So let's just say if you are the founder of your business and you know how to do everything day to day, you know what you're doing every single day. It's kind of a big bottleneck, because if you want to go and hire the next person, you've got to do all that training. And so, yes, it's super laborious to go and write it all down, but it's key. And there's things that we're looking to fix is to understand how we can do that really quickly. As well, if you've got team members already in your team and they've got the processes in their head, if they leave tomorrow because they go and find a new job, that process is gone and you need to figure out how you do it yourself. And that, again, that's going to take you a long time, or it's just going to be very, very annoying to go and have to figure out how you do it. So the fix, so we've got just a standard operating procedure. Just go and create those. Whatever you do on a day-to-day basis, if you do it more than twice, you might need a procedure for that. So go and write it down. You can use really simple tools like Loom. So Loom is a video capture. So if you wanted to kind of just tell yourself or tell your team how to do something, you capture a Loom video and say, hey, this is how you do it. Click here, do this, do that, sorted. Loom obviously gives you a transcript as well. So you can pull that transcript into ChatGPT or whatever AI system you want to use. And then you've got a document for it as well. So you can just say, hey, can you generate a document for me to go and give a standard operating procedure to somebody? Put that into Google Drive in a folder which is standard operating procedures, and then you're starting to build the systems for your business really, really quickly. To go simpler than that, you can use something called Scribe. Now, I found this a couple of years ago and it is amazing. So after this, you'll make a note, go and find it. But what happens is it kind of records your screen as you click. So if you, let's say, if you have a process to generate an invoice in Zero, for example, and you don't want to do that anymore, you want to give it to your VA, you can go and do it, generate an invoice, and Scribe will follow you as you go and then generate a step-by-step video of what you do. So you can give that to somebody else and they can go and do it following your step-by-step exactly from your instruction. So Scribe is great, simple format as well. So make it simple so people can just come and follow it really easily. That's why videos work. That's why Scribe can work. And as I've already mentioned, store it in a centralized, accessible location. Therefore, everyone can go and find it and they won't get lost. So things like Google Docs, Google Drive, they have a backup. Dropbox has a backup, so you can use all that and then you won't lose it. And then there's a quick win here, which is record a loom video. As I've already said, whenever you complete a task more than twice, this instantly starts to build your library. And it also will relate to something else we'll talk about in a bit, which is going to be around automation. So if you see yourself doing a manual task and you've got all of these standard operating procedures, how are we going to automate those? But we'll talk about that shortly. The next one, over-reliance on manual work. So as your team starts to build, you kind of start to do things manually as you would do. Like any good process or any automated process starts manually. But a lot of them stay that way just because we don't go and look at them. So manual tasks, wasting time on admin rather than focusing on growth driving activities. So an example of this with a client at the moment, they have so many manual tasks. It's a team of 50 people. So the biz dev team is probably the worst one for it. And they've got about 10 people in their biz dev team. And they were all doing super manual tasks, recurring tasks every single day. To pinpoint one of them, the sales team were doing DDRC, so due diligence on potential clients or potential partners they wanted to work with. And each one took them over an hour. And so we were like, okay, if you want to scale and get loads more clients and get loads more partners, we need to make sure that that manual work is going somewhere else. We can't automate it because we need to do it. We can automate scraping and stuff like that. But what we did was put in a offshore team who are way cheaper than their time. And now the sales team can go and generate leads. The offshore team are doing the DDRC. So that kind of helped them with that manual process. So the first thing to fix it is that fix is quite niche, but we can use that solution. But we can also identify repetitive tasks. So using Asana, using ClickUp, what I always do is just make sure that recurring tasks are in their own folder. And so that's kind of like a trigger for me to go, okay, do I need to do this task? Can I give it to somebody else? Just keep them in their own folder in wherever you do it, do task management, and just make sure that you're always reviewing that. You can track time as well there because you'll be able to understand how much time you're spending on each. And then automation will be worth the time. So if you have somebody you need to pay to automate that, so you've got an AI specialist and you say, hey, AI specialist, I do this repetitive task every single week. Can you help me automate it? And they say, yes, it will cost you 100 quid. If you can see that you're spending £100 worth of your time on it once per week, it's worth it because you'll make your money back in a week. So you may as well do that. And then with all of these tasks, with all of these programs, Asana, ClickUp, whatever, they have automations built in. And so you'll be able to probably pull those automations in without asking somebody else to do it as well. And start small as well. So as I said, with the outsource example, if you start small with like a simple task like DDRC, then that's a great way to start going. Again, going back to invoicing, if you've got a small task like invoicing and you want to just make sure that that's been done, just start there, give it to somebody else or automate it as much as you can. And a quick one here is to list your team's daily, weekly tasks. So team can just be yourself. Identify 3 of those that can be automated and then implement an automation within a week. So just 3 of the ones that maybe you find the most onerous, most boring, and the ones you're like, oh my God, I can't be asked to do that. Or anything that you can think of really. List 3 of them and see if you can automate them within a week. Next up, no clear metrics or KPIs. And this one is one we see quite often in really small businesses because it's sometimes like, do I need a KPI? How do I identify it? And what's it going to be? Because it's, quite hard to think about it. I had the same issue. So when I started to do optics, I was like, I need to go and sell. I need to go and market. I need to go and make people know about this. So I set up a really simple KPI called LAPS, which is leads, appointments, proposals, sales. And so it's kind of just numbers based, really. So how many leads do I get a week? How many appointments do I make a week? How many proposals do I send a week? And therefore sales. And so that was my first KPI that I needed to do because it was my first problem. getting clients in the door. The mistake people always make, as we've kind of alluded to there, is teams operate without tracking performance. And so you can't, if you don't measure it, you can't manage it. And so managing things, getting data-driven decisions is going to be key to success and growth and scale because, again, setting that foundation of we know where we are is really important. So you know where you're going to go and it's more successful when you go there.
Yeah, thanks.
The fix. So identify 5 to 7 core metrics that define success. It doesn't have to be that many. Like I just said,
Yeah, I went through the documentation so many times
sorry,
and
I'm just gonna
I
move.
sort of get it.
There you go. Jan is talking. Cool. So identify 5 to 7 core metrics that define success. As I said, you can just do one if you want to, which just sets you in the right direction. And so understanding what they are is really important. So yesterday I had a session with someone who could be a potential client. We were doing a free audit and we were looking at where what KPIs she could do. So she runs a charity which goes into schools and teaches them how to she teaches art through the means of making sure that they can be less anxious and kids with ADHD are more relaxed and things like that. So using it as a mechanism to help them. And so she charges the parents for that. So every term she gets the parents to pay up front for the term. And I asked her, okay, what if you were to have a metric which said term to term, how many people renew? So what's your retention rate per term? And she said, well, I don't know that. It's like, okay, well, if you knew that percentage, let's say it's 70%, and you increase that by 5% in a year, that means that 5% is earning you X more revenue. Therefore, if you were going to go and spend that X revenue on marketing, advertising, you don't need to because you've just optimized your processes to make sure your term to term retention rate is better. Therefore, you don't have more clients, you just have more kids in the same arena, in the same classroom. And now you don't need to get more stuff. You don't need to go and find another venue because you've just got the same kind of setup already, just earning more money from it because your retention rate's gone up. So it's not simple, but it's simple, kind of really small, clear metrics that we can go, okay, this one will help me do this. Using a dashboard tool is super important. So you can do that through Asana and ClickUp. They have dashboard mechanisms and things and other tools like that. That's great because all your tasks already live there. So if you're tracking your time or tracking your team's time or success or like time to market, for example, you can just go into your dashboard tool and create that dashboard really easily from the tasks that already exist. You can use things like Tableau. You can use things like Google Looker. And so Google Looker is great for your marketing and ad spend and things like that. You just pull that through. And Tableau is a little bit more complex. You've got to set up an API tool, but you can do that if you've got more data to have to model because it can get really confusing if you've got a ton of data. And review those weekly. Like just set yourself a cadence to go in and just review that and see what's happening. Like in all of these dashboards, all of your metrics, just have a plus or minus percentage rather than having to go and look at it for too long. So when you're setting it up, plus or minus percentage just helps you have a quick glance and go, okay, where's the issue? We've done that with a client at the minute on their QA, quality assurance. They had nothing in place before, so we've set up a really basic Google Sheets tracking so they can track what their QA is doing. So it's a client acceptance rate of whatever we deliver. And so when the client accepts it, it's a tick. When they don't, it's a thumbs down. And so we're tracking that. And last week it went down by 15%. So we're like, wow, okay, what's going on there? Go and have a look at it, and we can just drill down into what exactly the problem is with these metrics. So a quick win is start with, put 3 essential KPIs here really. So revenue per employee, that can even be yourself, and you can starting setting your targets like if you just start to get more team members, what's the revenue per employee and what do I want it to be ideally? And what do you want it to be in 5 years? Task completion time. So how can you optimize how quick it takes you to do a task? So again, like back to if you were to deliver a proposal, how can I make this quicker? You could set a template up. So if you're starting it from scratch every time, you don't want to do that, set a template up. And if you've got different kinds of proposals, set a template up per proposal. And that cuts your task completion time down for that task. And then customer response time. So, for example, if you're doing things like customer support in any way or shape or form, or you want to get feedback, how can we cut that customer response time? And there'll be many others, many essential ones that you have in your head now. Number 4, unclear roles and responsibilities. So that could even be for yourself. So if you're just running your own business and you don't know what your roles and responsibilities are in your own mind as a founder, that's an issue as well, and that's a big mistake. So it gets worse when teams grow. Tasks get more complex. They could get duplicated. They could get missed and fall between the cracks as well. So an example of what we're doing in a minute for a client is project governance. And so they've asked us because they have a team of 15 or so. And when they secure a contract, everybody gets really excited and everybody jumps in. And they're like, yay, let's go and deliver this project, this contract. And they all duplicate tasks. They all set meetings with the same people from the other side. It looks super unprofessional. And it just is a mess. Takes them on average at the minute, they're big projects, so it's a lottery company, so it takes them 18 months to do a project. And when we looked at it, we were like, that's crazy. Like, it shouldn't take that long. Even with all the moving parts, it should be like, I don't know, under a year, because your time to market is obviously key. You've invested so much money in getting them to that point of signing a contract. You invest so much money in the project and everything that goes around it. You need to get them to market and actually earning revenue as fast as you can. So if we can half that, perfect. And that's kind of our aim through project governance. So project governance goes in and says, we have a project. This is exactly what happens and exactly what point in time and everything like that. So it's a standard operating procedure about a project, and it gives everybody their roles and responsibilities. And that's just a really big kind of solution for this. During that, we're using a RACI matrix. So it's responsible, accountable, consulted, and I is like interested, I think. I always
Instruct.
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 That's it, Tej, thanks. You've read all the books.
Just wanted to make sure you knew I was paying attention.
I appreciate that. So yeah, RACI matrix will just kind of help you define who does what. So it's RACI across the top and then everybody down the side, and you kind of mark who's doing what. And it just gives a really quick snapshot of exactly what people are doing. Clear job descriptions is also key. So if you are getting a VA on, for example, as your first step in terms of employing someone, or you're getting someone just to come in and help you as a consultant, just give them a really clear job description and say, this is what I want you to do. For them, it defines success, so that they know they're doing a good job. But for you, it kind of just clears up, okay, I know that that's what's in their remit. I'm going to leave them to it because I don't need to worry about it, and it kind of takes that pressure off you as the founder of the business. And holding monthly ops reviews, like we said at the start, it's not the sexiest of meetings, but it's kind of just one of those things that is really going to help you. So having a look at everybody's tasks and going, okay, what is everyone doing? Do you think you should still be doing that? And what are we not doing? So that's the quick win, really. So asking yourself as well as your team members, what tasks do you think you own? Like what is it that you should be doing? Compare answers against different people in the team and see if there's any confusion, but also spot the tasks that nobody's doing. So, for example, if you're not asking for feedback from clients as yourself as the person running the business, that's a big task that you need to start to do and put it on your job description. I need to ask for feedback or delegate to somebody else. Number 5, reactive, not proactive ops management. And this is one that always annoys me when I see it. But fixing problems after they become emergencies leads to consistent and constant firefighting in the business, and often burnout as well for yourself. So what we always say is you should be working on your business rather than in it. And the goal of whatever we do is kind of help founders do that, just to make sure that they're doing the thing that they love doing, you'd assume, and they're good at, you'd also assume, is working on the business and on the strategy of what they've actually created or what they actually want to accomplish. And at the start of any session that we do, we always ask the vision and mission of whoever we're helping, just because then that kind of defines this. So it defines where we want to get to, and it defines what those the proactive ops management is going to be. So to be able to do that, we always schedule ops reviews, quarterly ops reviews. So we had with them in the last slide as well, but they're monthly in terms of your team. Quarterly ops reviews kind of allude to looking at your processes, looking at change management, looking at how do I take on projects rather than individual tasks. So it's bigger than just the tasks. It's overall, how are we looking at how we're just running this business? Do we need to invest in another tool? Do we need to have a look at the tools we already have? Are they working for us or not? And that's proactive ops management rather than getting to a point where something falls over. We want to make sure that we're reviewing it before it does. Implement a simple process improvement cycle. So we have a template for this, which kind of it prioritizes your processes, which sounds a bit of a strange thing to do, but prioritize the process that is the most key to the running of your business, and then review that as often as possible to make sure that it's efficient and working as possible and it's not going to fall over. Just making sure that that one or five or whatever it is processes work really, really well is key to just making sure that they continue to improve and therefore your business continues to improve. Flag inefficiencies early. So if you know something doesn't work, a lot of people just rest on it and go, oh, well, it is what it is. That's how it works. It's not the right attitude. So we just need to flag those inefficiencies as early as possible. If we know something's not working, there's no point continuing to do it. So something I see quite often is people will run with a tool that they think works and it solves like 6 out of 7 problems. But when you get to the seventh problem, it's not going to work. So if we're looking at a tool which covers the whole ecosystem of your business and it works for everything from sales to marketing to delivery, like Asana would, but it doesn't work for like at the end asking for feedback, that's something that's going to fall over. So you need to address that earlier than later. And the last one here, which is always something that I talk about, is risk registers. And for me, I always thought people had them before doing this with optics. I always thought everybody has a risk register in their business, but I'm finding that a lot of people just don't. And they're like, what is that? And so we've built templates to do it. And it's one of those things I always implore and always want to put into a business just to say, address all your risks up front. Sometimes it's a bit of a morbid kind of conversation because it's like, hey Tracy, what if you were hit by a bus tomorrow? What's going to happen to the business? You mitigate for that action, and so it's kind of a little bit morbid, a little bit out of the box, but you have thought about that proactively and you know exactly what's going to happen within the business as well. So another not fun one, but one that we always put in is like, what happens if COVID happens again? Are you set up to deal with that? Like, have you got your team ready to just go and work from home all the time? Do we need to have something set up for that? What if your biggest client leaves tomorrow? Are you diversified enough? Do you need to make sure that you've got a percentage split of your clients across your business, which is better than like one client provides you 80% of your revenue every single month? So the risk register just proactively makes sure that you manage those and asks difficult questions. And a quick one for that is to create an ops feedback form where employees can suggest improvements and pain points. You'll uncover easy wins fast. And you can do this with your clients as well. So if it is just you, ask your clients, just say, what do you think I should be doing better? Or what do you think I could improve in terms of like how I've delivered to you? Like they might think it's fantastic and sunshine and rainbows, and that's brilliant, but it's like, okay, let's drill down. Is there any part of this process I could have done better, which could have facilitated me delivering to you just 1% better? And then use that, and then that's what you can put into your ops reviews to be able to improve processes. Number 6 is lack of scalable systems. And so using tools and processes designed for 2-person teams, which down the line, when you get to 5 to 10, break. And so we did a proposal a few weeks ago for a company that was it's probably about 20 people. It was like a construction company, and the founder has used the same Excel spreadsheet to run the business for about 6 years. And I said to him, like, what happens if someone deletes that because they get annoyed, they're gonna leave, there's been a discrepancy and they're gonna leave your business. What happens if they get annoyed that last day and they just go and delete this Excel? I was like, have you got it backed up? He was like, oh, hopefully. So it's like, if you're running your business off an Excel spreadsheet, which they were just because that's how they started and that's how they just wanted to continue to do it, it's a bit of a mistake and a bit of a danger to how you run your business, really. So investing in scalable tools, one of them being enterprise resource planning, is a tactic you can use. So you can use one tool which fixes all of them. So earlier we said like you can have one tool that fixes 6 out of 7 problems, but an ERP is having multiple tools which talk to each other. And so if you've got 3 tools spread across your business, make sure they can talk to each other for optimization and efficiency, and then use those to kind of start to build out the team. You can see really quickly if that's going to be a scalable system for you. Build processes with growth in mind. An example with that would be something we're doing a project for with Asana for a social media marketing kind of company. So they have Asana in place. They're paying for it every single month, and they've got about 6 or 7 users on there. But they just throw tasks at it. They go, here's all our tasks, let's go do them. Whatever tool you put in place, a scalable system and a scalable tool will mold to your process and your business process. And so what we've done with them is say, okay, you do sales, and you then when someone's signed up to your kind of solution, you put them into Asana and you start to do tasks for them. So why not have them at the front? So we've built them a sales funnel in Asana, so it's acting as their CRM. They put that client in at the start, and then they move through that process of being a sale. They sign, the business is won, and all of the contracts, all of the information, all the key contacts are already in Asana. So we just move that one task into a project, and that project is that client's like ecosystem to be able to manage them, put all their tasks in. With that, we have templates. So templates, we manage all of their kind of any solution that this company is putting in place. We have a template for that solution. So we have key tasks, recurring tasks that they're always going to do, and we just slot it in. And so that is scalable just because we can watch that client go through that whole system, and anybody can see that in the business in terms of alignment and visibility. So that is with growth in mind. So they kind of, as I said earlier, they set their vision of doubling their clients this year. And so that process within Asana helps them to do that because everything is just so streamlined and it's scalable. Standardizing systems is also key. So making things not complex for complex sake. So just make it super simple, super standard. You don't need to have like 6 different tools that you're paying for. Review it regularly and only have 2 or 3 key ones that you want to use or need to use, and they will talk to each other. If it doesn't fit a purpose, if you don't use it weekly or daily, whatever cadence you want to say, then you don't need it. Don't use it. The quick win. Ask yourself or ask your team, if our workload was triple tomorrow, what would break first? Like, what would fall over? So is it yourself, or is it like a system or process in your system that you need to kind of go and fix? What would break first? Number 7, poor internal communication. And this can be with yourself again. Like this can be having everything in your head and not writing it down if you're a solo founder, but with a team as well, super important. So relying on email, unstructured messaging causes misalignment and slow decision making. And this is one of the bugbears I've had forever, since someone started to do it to me, sending FYI emails. I'm like, you've got a massive long email chain and you just put FYI, and you've got to go read through that email chain. It's like, I'm not going to do that. So the mistake around this internal communication, as you can do it on your own as well, is just not writing stuff down. So I have a CRM, which I keep for myself. For any conversation I have, I am there taking notes, or I've took notes afterwards if it's in person. And so every single bit of communication for myself that I need to know is all in that CRM, so I can go and find it. So it's structured and the messaging is clear. Don't rely on just emails, as it said there. So centralizing communication. So whether that's Slack, whether that's Discord or anything like that, a chat system, Google Chat, whatever it is, that's free. Use that just to be able to have somewhere where everybody talks and define what's going on. So set clear guidelines, define what things are said where, and what kind of communications is appropriate for a certain channel. Have internal channels, have external channels, but set clear guidelines of what's actually going to go into those. Meetings as well. So I remember the day when I got at one of my old jobs, I got a instruction to set like a meeting guidelines, and it was like can't be longer than this time, should have an agenda every single meeting, etc. And it's always stuck with me, where just to have guidelines for a meeting, because people love to have meetings for meetings' sake, and it happens in bigger businesses rather than smaller ones usually. But make sure just make sure that every single one-to-one, every single catch-up meeting just has that kind of agenda, has a structure. Make sure you know what you're going to be talking about. And implement weekly team stand-ups, again, with a very good agenda. You can do that with yourself as well. I do it on a Friday afternoon, just kind of go, okay, what did I do this week? What am I doing next week? What do I need to do right now to be able to be set up for next week? But every single weekly team stand-up, just check in, and it's that really simple agenda. What did we do this week? Success. What did we do next week? What do we need to build towards, etc. It's kind of like a retrospective that you can just do every single time. The quick one here is create a communication playbook. So how, where, when the team will be communicating. So, for example, if you've got Slack as a team, like have fun with it. Like on a Friday, everybody puts in a fun fact, or everybody puts in a dad joke or something weird like that. Like I know that's what I'm going to be doing when I've got a bigger team. Sorry, Rosh, but it'd just be having just fun with it, just making sure we're being a bit weird still. I'm trying to make that our branding, be weird. So yeah, awesome. Number 8 on this is ignoring customer experience in ops. Um, I don't think everybody ignores it. I just don't think people manage it as well as they could or should. And that is when you've got hundreds of clients or when you've got 3 or whatever, just making sure that you check in with them and making sure that they're heard and making sure that you know what's going on all the time. Just need to make sure we're doing it. So ops are usually built for internal efficiency while ignoring the customer experience. So you've refined your processes internally, but you're not looking at what they think outside as well, what they're looking in on. And so we said earlier, you can ask them what's going on, but do we often look at it from another angle and say, okay, how do I look from the outside? Is that, that reflects on the outer. So the fix there, I love to map the customer journey and identify any operational friction. And so from start to finish, go, okay, I'm doing a one-to-one with this person to start to propose my services. They're interested. Now I'm going to do a proper session in terms of that, give them a proposal. Cool, they want to work with me. What the onboarding process? And just look at that and see if there's any friction for them in terms of where they get to. So if onboarding is a friction, it's like, oh God, okay, they need to book a meeting with me. That's friction. Why don't I book it for them and suggest when we're going to talk? And if they need to move it, they can move it. But those kind of frictions you can just address super quick, and that goes all the way through the whole process. So you can have that through delivery, through customer success as well. Use tools to gather feedback and lifecycle goals. And so lifecycle goals is probably one on its own. Like identify the key points in your customer's journey or your client's journey with you. So that could be 2 weeks into their journey with you. Okay, we've been working together 2 weeks and we delivered one project. What should they be? Where should they be on their journey? What's the thing I'm going to do next? Am I going to ask them for some feedback on that first bit? Or are we going to propose or cross-sell something and say, hey, we also do this? In 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, whatever that kind of journey is on your timeline, where you think is a pivotal moment, that's when you should be checking in on them and saying, hey, what do you think's going on? How would you like the services? Do you need anything else that I'm not actually doing at the minute? And that goes back to when we were talking about reviewing your operational processes as well. And assigning an ops CX champion, customer experience champion. So someone whose job it is, it can just be a customer support manager. It can just be yourself again, if you're just on your own, but making sure you've got a task on a regular cadence to check in with your clients and to say, hey, how do you think we're doing? So I have been told many times that if I got a pound for every good type form I wrote, I'd be probably about £20 up. But for some weird reason, I have a really good knack of writing surveys. And so being able to write a good survey and asking for that really good qualitative and quantitative feedback is key. It just gives you that kind of data. Quantitative is great because it gives you a number, a KPI, as we were talking about earlier. It gives you a number to say, okay, people are 7 out of 10 on average liking what I do. They think that this particular thing is an 8 out of 10. Do more of that. But this one over here is a 5 out of 10. So I need to improve that. So it kind of gives you a really good steer on a numbers basis. So you can ask again in 2 months and say, okay, now that 5 out of 10 is turned into a 7 out of 10 success. How can we get it to a 10? Just keep on going like that. And then qualitative is great because you can use all those for your case studies. So if you just say, what did you think about working with me? It was great because of this, this, this. Use that in a case study, use that on LinkedIn, use that everywhere. And then that gives you something to shout about. So a quick win. Send a 2-question survey to your customers today. And so how can we improve our delivery of service to you? What's one thing we do really well? So one's asking, how can we improve? And one's asking, what do you think we do well? So the improve, you'll go and fix. The do well, we do more of it. And so again, yesterday I had the conversation with the person running the charity and I asked her if she does any feedback and she said no. But in the same breath, we were also talking about her putting her prices up because she hasn't put them up in 5 years. And I was like, okay, wow, you need to do that because she buys all of the craft materials, etc. And so I said, if we create a survey, firstly to ask for feedback, ask for any success stories. So she works with kids. If there's any kids that have had a great change, a great life change because of these sessions, that's fantastic for you to go and get more clients. But also within that same breath, we can say, if I were to increase my prices by £1.50, she charges £6.75 per child per session. If I increase my prices by £1.50, would you still want to be a client? Yes or no? Or you can put, what would you think out of 10 if I increase my prices by £1? Oh, that's great. 10. Oh, I wouldn't lie that. 1. So you're going to get a steer on if you can increase your prices as well. Being able to use that kind of data to make sure that you're doing the right decisions. So we're doing that at the minute. So we'll see what comes back. Hopefully she can raise her prices by a lot more because not changing it in 5 years with inflation is nuts. So it'll be good to increase those prices. Number 9, relying on the founder for everything. And so this is really, really one of those ones that I've seen a lot. So I did an ops audit with a client a few weeks ago, and literally everything is in his head, and literally every process in his head. So I was like, he asked me, what's the bottleneck? I was like, you are, because your team can't work because you're just holding literally everything up all the time. Everything has to go through you, and everything is always directed at you, and you can't do everything, and it's going to make you burn out. So in many small businesses, they are the bottleneck, the founders having to approve invoices, overseeing operations, being super controlling on every single decision, and it stifles growth, burns out the founder, and it means you're not going to scale and grow because you can only do so much. And so getting a team around you or getting consultants around you to outsource it is perfect because you can just start to rely on other people. If you've set those really good standard operating procedures at the start, you can rely that if they're going to follow that, you know they're going to do a good job. They, and you know they're going to do it exactly the same way as you are. So just let go a little bit, and people will understand. Implementing decision-making frameworks. So if this, then that. If this, then that. And you can do that through your standing operating procedures. So if you find that you have a procedure where it just needs that decision, so let's take, I don't know, a change request. And so you want to make sure that its business case is good. You can implement that into things like ClickUp. So I've done that with a client before. So if someone comes with a change request, they have to submit a business case. And that business case asks for how long it's going to take, who's got to do it, so you know how much it's going to cost. So you have a senior developer or a mid developer, whatever. And what's the return on investment here? And so you have to know how much money you're going to actually get from doing this change, and then the return on investment as a percentage of what you're going to cost your business. And so that's a decision-making framework, because then if it comes out and says return on investment is 50%, great. If return on investment is minus 10%, don't do it. So yeah, that kind of takes that decision out of their hands, but you kind of put that decision-making framework into there as well. Empowering team members is a huge one. So empowering people just to make decisions on your behalf, but you've given them the frameworks, you've given them the standard operating procedures, but also you've got tools which increase alignment, increase visibility. And so they can make informed decisions, and they've got all those communication channels, as we spoke about before, to be able to make those informed decisions as well. They can see everything. So again, let's go with our client who we're doing the Asana project for. We've given them a sales funnel and then a delivery kind of area within Asana. So all of the team can see exactly what's happened before. So they can be empowered to go and look at all that comms and go, okay, this person makes the decisions. I'm going to go and talk to them. They don't have to ask the founder who they need to speak to about something. And build a decision FAQ. So if you're a founder and you have a team, or if you have a VA, or if you have consultants and they ask you the same questions all the time, build an FAQ. I've done this so many times just because I don't like answering the same questions really. So I've just said, here's an FAQ, go and take that and use that. And you can just build that out. So if someone asks you the same question twice, FAQ, just keep building on that. And the quick win here is to create a delegation list today. So write all the tasks only you do, delegate 3 of them to your team immediately, or delegate 3 of them to a VA, or go and get a VA and then delegate. So as a bonus here, I use this method. So I look at all of the tasks in a week. So I use a program called Motion. It's like an AI scheduler, really. And it lists out all my tasks, and then it will schedule them wherever I don't have meetings to do in time blocks. And I always review those tasks for the week after on a Friday, and I always label them, literally label every single task and say, this is a do now task. So I have to do that on Monday, Tuesday. This is a schedule task. So I can do it anytime next week or anytime the week after. This is a delegate task. So I'm going to go and give that to somebody else because I shouldn't be doing it. And this is a delete task, and they're the best ones because it's just a task you're doing for the task's sake, right? You don't need to do this. I'm not going to do it. And so it's kind of tasks like that and just go. So I always just follow this label. And if it's delete, obviously don't label because that's a waste of time. Just get it gone. And the last one, which hopefully will leave, yeah, good timing. We'll leave questions at the end. Is this, and I always just like put my head in my hands or my head hits the table when someone says this to me and I'm in an ops position. It's like, oh yeah, we've always done it that way, so that's how we do it. One of my old jobs was with a company, and I walked in on the first day, and their processes were archaic, and they got me in, and I was probably the youngest there by 20 years, which is daunting, but also fun because anything you say, they go, "Wow, that's cool!" Like any tech thing, you should do this. Oh, wow, amazing! And you think it's simple, but it's to them, it's great. They were doing the same thing they've always done this way for 10 years. And I said, okay, what growth have you had in 10 years? And they were like, oh, well, we're just trying, like, we've got this contract coming soon, and that's going to be the big one. And then it will change the business. And I'm like, okay, well, you've been saying that probably for the last 10 years, every single year. So let's change it and let's see what we can do. So it's not always done in the same way. Let's change it so it's done in a different way. And we did. And it was a success. Unfortunately, one of the people who said this to me was made redundant because of the changes that we made in terms of the optimizations and processes, which is sad. But also in the same vein, they were not doing things efficiently or optimally. So we just had to. From a business point of view, it worked out for them. But as teams grow, as they get older, they often stick to outdated processes simply because it's always how I've done things. And resistance to change, which is a big one, it leads to inefficiency, frustration, and missed opportunities just because you're not as agile as you should be. That resistance to change is a big one because people are always really scared of change. If they've always done something in a certain way, they don't want to change because that's how they know how to do it, especially if you're working with bigger teams. The fix here, schedule regular process audits, and I put ISO here because that's what we did with that client. I suggested that they do a ISO 27001, which is just a massive look at every single operational thing you do and making sure it's actually in place. And so we worked with KPMG to be able to implement that. And so things like you have a change request in your tech team, is that actually documented? Do we actually see that everything it should have been how it was done? And where is that checklist to make sure that we do that? What date did you review it? And maybe that's a bit overkill for your business, but having something simpler than that, regular process audits will just make yourself accountable. And if you're looking for things like investment, or if you're looking to bring in another business partner, or if you're looking to really just grow your business, it's great because you can evidence I've looked at my processes and I know that I'm doing things in the right way. And it's just a big tick in the box. Encourage a culture of continuous improvement, which is something I really enjoy. And it goes back to the Kaizen kind of approach to work where you're trying to be 1% better every single day. And it gives you massive, massive gains. Be encouraging a culture of that. It can be encouraging it in yourself if you're the only founder. Like have a session every single Friday to look back on the week, as I said earlier, as a retrospective and go, okay, what did I do well? What could I do better? And that's just a little retrospective you can do with yourself, but do it with the whole team and can encourage people to suggest things, even if like you're working with a VA or working with a consultant, encourage them to speak up and say, hey, I think you should do this process better because of this, and try it. Like you can A/B test it alongside each other and say, okay, I'll try your process for a week. And if it doesn't work, we tried it. And so just encouraging people, empowering people to do that. And applying the eliminate, automate, delegate rule to every process. So we did it with tasks before, but this one for processes is even more important because if you're going to say we've always done it this way and you say it about a process, it might be the fact that you don't even need that process anymore, but you didn't even realize that you don't. So it's just sometimes it's an eye opener for that. So a quick win is a process challenge. So if you had a magic wand, what task would you fix or simplify? Choose one suggestion and implement it within 7 days. So on the spot, I'll ask you guys, because this is the last slide and we're on to questions and things. Would someone like to volunteer a process or a task they would want to fix if they had a magic wand? And we'll see if we can in like a minute.
Mine would be the getting receipts back to the bookkeeper, so they're all tidy and good for her, which we're supposed to do way more often than we do, basically.
Fair play.
That'd
Yeah,
probably be the one that I'd be like, if I could just make that go away, in fact, would be the best.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, definitely. Well, things like I use Starling, like, and that just has a photo thing. So whenever I get a receipt, I just take a photo of it and it attaches it to the transaction. And so
yeah.
that photo pulls into Zero automatically. I don't know if do you do that as well?
Yeah, so we've got styling, but it's for things like and it's not even that many. Normally, maybe it's like 15 to 20 transactions.
Mm.
Like each time that we get the email that comes round from the bookkeeper, and it's things like hotels that are booked through booking.com that you need to call the hotel, because you won't get the right sort of invoice from booking.com or that kind of scenario where, or like it's food and drink and travel and stuff like that when you're out and about and you haven't taken the picture because yeah, exactly, like I think pretty sure styling normally it's fine, you can just do that, but if you've forgotten to take the picture you just chuck the receipt in the
Yeah,
wallet or whatever, it's digging all that stuff out.
definitely. Yeah, it's always you could always suggest it to Starling to say, hey, every time I take a transaction, just prompt me to take a picture.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, yeah,
Well, I
like
don't know. I don't. Well, hopefully someone's suggested that before, but that'd be quite a nice thing.
yeah,
Uh,
like get a prompt basically, take a like every yeah, okay, yeah, like an alarm until you've taken the picture.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Amazing. And then I just had a question from Tracy. What accounting software do you use? Is that for me, says Tracy, or for the room?
No, it's for Ben because some of
Zero.
them
Yeah, so
zero. Because have you got HubDoc?
no, don't think so. What's
Because
that?
HubDoc comes with Zero, and you can
Okay.
install it on your phone, and then you just take a photo and it's uploaded, and your bookkeeper will grab it and see it.
I think
So
we, yeah, I think we have with Starling the ability to do some of that. It's just the odd.
it's remembering and getting
Let
in
me,
the
oh
habit
yeah,
of doing
it's
it.
remembering to do. I think. Let me just have a quick look at the most recent email. I can tell you the ones.
Mm. And I think you
Um,
can even forward, I think you get an email address with it as well. So if you've got something in your inbox, you can
yeah,
forward it to HubDoc.
yeah, zero
And it,
at yeah, yeah. It's I mean we've definitely got that for zero. We've got an email that you can just send the receipts to once you've gathered them
mm,
together. Let me just have a look at what we've got. Um, yeah, so it's almost all the things that we have to catch up on is almost all things like taxis, food, hotels, and there's the odd consultancy fee that we need to send round as well. But yeah, those are the kind of things that we miss. But it probably is just a case of being well when it like having yeah having some kind of alarm or notification that happens like straight away and then actually doing it straight away, I suppose, isn't it? It's
And even like if you know you're out for the day, right? So if you know you've got a particular day when you're going to get loads of taxis, going to have loads of food, travel, etc. Like you're going out to London for the day from when you guys live, just have like a reminder at the end of the day. So
set like an hour, yeah, or whatever. Yeah, to be fair. Yeah, yeah. Just do it on the day. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. No worries, Tej. Take care, mate. Awesome. So that is it. There's a big thank you in really big text. With this session, you can scan to book a free ops audit. So that's an hour with myself and or Urosh. So it's kind of to go through your processes and procedures, and we always ask to identify and understand your bottleneck first, and then we can go through that. in detail, but if not, we'll just start from sales and we'll go all the way through to the end. And what you get with that is like kind of just a really good conversation about how you can improve, optimize, get efficiencies, and hopefully speak to two great guys. If I do may say so myself.
It's
Um,
great, David.
yeah,
Are you going to share the link for this meeting once?
definitely.
So
Yeah.
like, share that with us, and then I could.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. There's also a free checklist. So I'll share that over email, and I'll share it in this chat as well. But I'll stop sharing here.